RPG a day, day 31. Ask me anything. 10 years. 10 years we've been doing this. Can you believe that? What's up, nerds? It's your boy, the OGGM. 10 o'clock in the morning here on a lovely August 31st. It's in the year of our Lord, Steve the Cat, 2023. It's about 71 degrees and hazy here at Site B. It's the last day of RPG a day. Thank you, guys. Thank you for doing this for 10 years. I know that it's getting hard to keep coming up with new questions and whatever, but I just love doing this every year. I look forward to it every year. So, ask me anything. What are the OGGM's favorite games? End of the year question, end of the month question, all-time favorite games. So that's my all-time favorite D20 retro clone. Let's start with that one. My all-time favorite D&D D20 retro clone, Dungeon Crawl Classics. Of the 4 or 5 different ones I've played, Dungeon Crawl Classic is the one I enjoy playing the most. It's just so weird and bizarre. I love the idea of the funnels. I don't know why. I love the sheer randomness. I know people thought I'd say, Castles and Crusades and the whole Gygax legacy thing, but the few times I've played Castles and Crusades so far, it hasn't really done anything for me. And the more I find out about it, the more it just feels like, oh, there's so many alternate classes and subclasses, and it just feels like AD&D now, and just So I don't know. I mean, I'm still looking forward to actually getting to play more than 2 games, but yeah, right now Dungeon Crawl Classic from Goodman Games is my favorite retro clone of the 700 retro clones. Yes, I like it more than Shadowdark. Sorry. I never said I liked Shadowdark. I just said I would support her because she was my friend, and I'm glad she did what she did. I like it more than Forbidden Worlds, Forbidden Lands or whatever it's called, but I've never played it. Of the few that I've played, of the few that I've run, I love Dungeon Crawl Classics. What's my favorite edition of Dungeons and Dragons? Is it Advanced Dungeons and Dragons or 3rd? Okay, first, I like 4th. I liked 4th a lot. I think 4th got handled horribly, but I like 4th. I also like 5th. I don't think 5th is Dungeons and Dragons, but I like 5th. I kind of enjoyed 3 and 3.5, but I think really my happy spot was AD&D/3. If you take the best of AD&D and the best of 3 and combine them together, which was, I guess, Pathfinder before it got weird. I don't know, maybe. But yeah, AD&D and basic and stuff like that. Probably my favorite. What is my favorite current game? My top 5 games, my number 1 game of the past 10 years. If you haven't heard me talk about it enough, Tales from the Loop. I absolutely love Tales from the Loop. In fact, I showed the Tales from the Loop art book to somebody yesterday, and they wanted to get into it too. So yeah, I just love Tales of the Loop. I love the art. I love the story. I love the imagination. I love the emotion. I would love to sit down with Simon and talk to him, because I think he and I share a lot of the same sort of nostalgic recollection feelings about that chunk of time, that the 80s, the last summer of childhood, that beautiful melancholy, that longing that just sort of the artwork inspires and the game inspires. Yeah, I just love it. So it's my tabletop role-playing game for the past 10 years. My desert island go-to system after playing so many different games, if I'm going to say, well, this is the best system that you can consistently just run any game with, I would have to go either basic role-playing / Call of Cthulhu, the core rules from Call of Cthulhu, or once you understood them, the West End Games D6 system that they use for S1 Game D6 Star Wars, I really like that system. Once you figure it out, there's definitely things about it I don't like, but if there's the closest thing to a perfect system, I don't know. It's hard. The simplicity of Call of Cthulhu system. Now the biggie. My all-time favorite tabletop role-playing game. What is the first game that pops in my head when people ask me this question, that I don't have to look over to my collection or go just instantly, what is it? And if you don't know the answer by now, you should, because I mentioned it all the time whenever this question comes up. I've mentioned it in multiple articles, multiple interviews. Phase Rip Marvel. Phase Rip Marvel is my all-time favorite role-playing game. It is my comfy peanut butter and jelly, mac and cheese, this is the one that I always say, and most people don't agree with me for why I say it's my favorite, but it's my favorite. And I know the reason why it's my favorite is very quirky and very unique to me. But it's a game that I played on and off for years. When it first came out, I played it, and then stopped playing it for a while. And then when I, started gaming again in Southern California after getting out of college, it became a game we played a lot when we didn't want to play D&D. And the more I played it and the more I think about it, the more, it's just like, yeah, this game was the perfect game for me at the times I played it. And so consistently, innately, inherently, whenever I'm asked what is my all-time favorite role-playing game, my answer without even thinking is favorite Marvel. And you've all heard my reasons, and I know a lot of people don't think my reasons are good or that they don't make a lot of sense. A lot of people have disagreed with me about my reasons for why it's my favorite role-playing game, and that's fine. There's no logical, mathematical, definitive reason why it's my favorite role-playing game, okay? I mean, there's a lot of things wrong with it. I don't know if it would hold up under today's microscopic standards. But for me, if you're wondering, yes, this is the picture of the shelves from Seth's Games and Anime from about 11 years ago, 12 years ago. So yes, this is not my collection. This was the collection that used to be at Seth's Games and Anime a long, long time ago. So the main reason was Marvel FASERIP used words instead of numbers. Yes, there were numbers, but those numbers always equaled a word on the charts. And if you look at the charts, it was all the words, remarkable, excellent, unbelievable, Hulk-like, amazing. They were all words taken from comic book titles: The Amazing Spider-Man, The Remarkable Timeless Spider-Man, the Excellent X-Men. So my brain still does not work in numbers. Okay, so 35%, 1800 strength, plus 3. I can do the D&D math, but my brain still doesn't get it. When I was very young and dealing with the dyslexia, working with the words was much better for me than trying to figure out the numbers. I would just roll the percentile, say my word, remarkable blending, and the DM would tell me what happened. I didn't have to worry about numbers. I just knew the word, and I knew it was remarkable, and that's all I needed to know. And for my brain, that was fine. My brain was happy. It wasn't stressing out. It wasn't worrying. It wasn't trying to decipher the puzzle that my dyslexic brain had with math and numbers. It was just remarkable. Remarkable was a word I understood. So that meant a lot to me. That I could just roll the dice, tell the DM the word, and he would tell me, or she would tell me what would happen, and I didn't have to worry about anything else. It was all and I love random power generations. I loved the Marvel Universe a lot back then. I loved the characters I created. I had some pretty ridiculous Marvel characters, just because the weird randomness. We've heard the story about my robot, right, with the blending, who everybody forgot. Yeah, so the words. The second was the colors, because the color shift: green shift, yellow shift, red shift. Was another thing my brain understood. My brain understood green, yellow, red, blue, and which color was better than the other color. I didn't have to worry. Sure, the numbers were there, but my brain didn't have to worry about them. I didn't have to worry about them. I told myself subconsciously it was okay because I didn't have to worry about the math. I didn't have to worry about the numbers. So again, that just made me very comfortable and made it very easier for me to game. I mean, I still have trouble with some games' math. I still have to add things up on fingers even to this day. And as I'm getting older, I feel like in some ways I'm regressing because it's getting harder. When I was young, it was very hard for me to deal with these things. And over the years, I've developed coping mechanisms and little quirks, and I've learned how to things that my brain has sort of learned how to process it. But now I've reached the age when, the brain's starting to degrade. Those synapses are starting to maybe not spark as often. Age is setting in. So I feel like I'm back to where I was, where it's getting harder to, remember what numbers mean. I'm finding I have to add things up more on calculators now, or count on my fingers, or try and figure. Like this morning, I tried to figure out if 7 days had passed yet for Steve's medicine, and I was counting on my fingers going, well, okay, Friday to Saturday is 1, Sunday, because those are things that are slowly starting to slip away as I'm getting older. Those are things that my brain didn't comprehend when I was a kid. So here was this happy little game that also was a huge Marvel fan at the time, so I'm sure that probably helped, and I was a huge X-Men fan, like everybody growing up in the 80s was, so yeah. But my brain understood words. My brain understood colors. I didn't have to worry about 36 or 18 or 24 or rolling 66. All I had to do was say remarkable agility, roll my percentile, tell him what I wanted to do, and move on. And he would tell me whether I was succeeded or failed. So that is why, for me, it is my all-time favorite game. Consistently, that's my answer. I know a lot of people are going to be like, that's a dumb answer. But whatever. I don't really care. This is the last question of the month. We don't have to do this again for another year. What is your all-time favorite role-playing game? What's your role-playing game for the decade? What's your desert island role-playing game? What's your favorite D20 OGL OSR retro clone of the 700? Let me know what you're thinking. Thank you again, RPG A Day, for doing this every year. We really appreciate it. See you next year, guys. Talk to you later.